Welcome to Al Bernstein Unplugged on Boxing. In a 40-year Hall of Fame career, Al has chronicled some of the greatest moments in boxing history. On this podcast, you get to hear him expand on those memories and talk about the current news in the sport of boxing. You also hear Al interview some of the biggest names in the sport. Here's Al Bernstein Unplugged.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the show. Delighted that you joined us for what I think will be a really nice edition with Jaron Boots Ennis joining us. Of course, the spectacular young welterweight who at age 23 was thought of as a great prospect, and now, after his win over Sergey Lipinets, is thought of as a contender in the welterweight division. And we'll talk about all that with him. And I'll give a few of my comments as well as we move on. But now I want to introduce my co-host for the show, my good pal, Trip Mitchell. Hi, Trip. How are you?
I'm doing great, Al, and I'm excited to see Showtime is really marching things up. A lot of great fights being scheduled, and you're going to be in California for 2 fights during May, including a super bantamweight fight coming up here in the middle of May.
Yeah, very excited. The schedule goes all the way through September, averaging a couple of fights a month, a couple of shows a month with loaded cards that include not only good main events, but some wonderful fights on the undercards as well that people will enjoy. So I'm really excited to be announcing those. And yeah, it does start off with a WBC Super Bantamweight championship with a couple of champions, Brandon Figueroa taking on Luis Neri. And these two are ticketed for a war. Neri is a power puncher who moved up from the bantamweight division. Brandon Figueroa is a very aggressive fighter who has great offense and sometimes suspect defense, and that makes for exciting fights. And on May 15th at the Dignity Health Center Sports Park, they will be battling away. And of course, that will be the location of both that fight and the next one we're going to talk about. And it should be very, very exciting. I think it'll have those fans there on the edge of their seats.
And a couple weeks later, Nonito Donaire, who is arguably one of the classiest guys in the sport of boxing, great career. He'll be hoping to add something to that career.
Yeah, he will be having a fight that he was supposed to have months ago, and we even interviewed him on this show in advance of that. And just after that interview, he caught COVID and couldn't do the fight against Nordine Ubale. And Ubale, though not a household name to perhaps as many fans as Donaire, is a world champion, and he is a terrific fighter. He's a left-hander who really a very, very sound technician in the ring, and I think he and Donaire will make for a terrific fight. And as you pointed out, Nonito Donaire just trying to build on his legacy, which is already an astonishing one that I'm sure has him ticketed to go to the to be inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. So winning another title at this advanced stage in his late 30s would really do that. And of course, he's coming in off a match. He's got a long layoff since that match against Inoue, in which they put on the fight of the year in 2019, and it was staggeringly good, and it demonstrated to the world that Nonito Donaire still has a lot to offer inside the ring. So that's going to be a good one, and there'll be some great undercard fights on that one, as well as on the card with Luis Neri and Brandon Figueroa. So those two cards are going to kick off, what should be a great series of fights this summer.
And on a personal level, do you enjoy doing fights in outdoor stadiums versus indoors? What's your preference?
I am of the mind that boxing is an indoor sport. However, yeah, I mean, because I think it's like, remember Woody Hayes when they used to ask him why he doesn't pass very much? And he said, well, 2 out of 3 things that happen to you when you throw a forward pass are bad, right? Incompletion or an interception. So I don't like my odds, And I have to say that boxing outside presents its challenges and its issues. I mean, it could rain, right? The elements could get involved. The wind could kick up, knocking over cameras, making it impossible for the fans to sit there. I mean, all kinds of things can happen in an outdoor setting. Having said that, sometimes the outdoor settings are fantastic. For instance, those great fights at the that we've talked about and recently, dealt with on this show, talking about Hagler Hearns, the great fight outdoors at Caesar's Palace when they used to turn that parking lot into a 20,000 person stadium. And the location that we're going to be at in May also has a grand history in boxing. It was formerly the Home Depot Center, among other names, and now the Dignity Health Center, Sports Park. And I mean, one of the great fights that I've ever announced, we did there, the third fight in the battle between with Vasquez and Valdez and Vasquez. Great trilogy of fights. And there have been many other great fights at that location. So it's a really terrific location. And so while outdoor fights in general are not my fave, I have to say that if I looked at a list of great fights I've done outdoors, there have been many.
Well, and someday in the future, when we have some time, I'd love to talk to you about earlier in your career, the top rank fights when you guys were that traveling circus going all over the country, doing fights in some weird spots.
We should devote a period of time to that. One of them was the Cow Patty Festival in Gardnerville, Nevada, which was held literally in a cow, where cows would graze, and all that entails. I don't need pointing that out. We were outdoors doing that every year. We would visit there every year. That was the scene of our perhaps our most famous open, when they came to us on camera and I was sitting on a horse and Barry was on what turned out to be a fence post. It looked like a horse. And at the end of our open, I rode away on my horse. He got off the fence post, walked into a Cadillac, and they drove him away. So it was a lot of fun. But so we should talk about, because some of those things were fantastic. I could picture this young man, if he came up at a different time, I could picture him on some of those cards that we had on ESPN for up-and-coming fighters. He, in fact, was on Showbox, the series on Showtime, which in a way is somewhat similar to some of the things we did on that old ESPN show, because it highlights young fighters as they are coming up and heading toward a world championship. And Jaron Boots Ennis was terrific on Showbox. He got his coming out party on Showtime Championship Boxing recently when he fought Sergey Lipinets, and it was a remarkable performance by him in beating Lipinets and stamping himself as now a contender in the welterweight division. And here's our chat with Jaron Boots Ennis. Well, Boots, you had a wonderful night in the Mohegan Sun against Sergey Lipinets in what was perhaps your most important victory as a professional. And the way that fight played out was intriguing. You came out in that match as you intended to come out against Chris Van Heerden in your last fight and sustain it, but that fight with Van Heerden got stopped so quickly because of the clash of heads. You came out jabbing and using your height and reach in that fight. Was that pretty much by design?
Yes. I knew that was like the game plan, just to be smart and take my time. Like show a little bit more skills or this fight.
Yeah, you did, and you were using your jab and your combination punching well, fighting at distance. When did you realize in the Lipinets fight that it was okay to go for more power punching and push him back a little bit?
Well, I feel like I could have stopped him in the third round, but I let off the gas and I listened to my corner, and my dad was like, "Just take your time, don't rush it, and just let it come." And that's what I did. So I went back to the game plan, just jabbing and keep stabbing that body, and I knew eventually I was gonna break him down.
Yeah, and you did knock him down before you ended up stopping the fight in the previous round, and in that fight there were only a couple of overhand rights that he landed. One nice uppercut. Did you feel the power of any of his punches?
He landed I think like two or three overhands, but what people don't really understand or watch, I roll with most of those shots that he did throw. I never really get hit with full punches, so I don't know if he really was strong or not.
You didn't really feel it dramatically.
Yeah. That's one thing about me. If I do get hit, it's not with a clean punch. I always try to take it away or roll. And some of these boxing experts talking about some. They said I got hit with a lot of overhands. I only got hit with about probably like two or three. I don't know what they were saying, but
yeah, there wasn't many. There was only a couple of overhand rights that landed in that fight. You tweeted out that you thought it was a good performance, but you said that you could have done a little bit more. How so?
Well, I actually felt like I thought Sergey was going, bring a different side out of me, and take me, make me do things I didn't do before. But I felt like, it was like a regular fight for me. Like it was like kind of just me in there having fun and being myself, and I didn't have to go into my bag and use those extra tools that I like to dig down deep. I feel like it's just like a regular fight. I don't take nothing away from Sergey, great fighter. I think, like I said before, I thank him for taking the fight and stuff like that, and him and his team. But it just like a normal fight to me. It was just just me in there having fun and putting on a show.
Well, you did that for sure, and you were able to be the first one to, you stopped him and dominated virtually every minute of the fight, which brings me to a question that I mentioned it on the broadcast, that I don't think you have lost a round of boxing as a professional. We checked. Steve Farr had checked about 80% of the scorecards. You couldn't get all of them. And it didn't look like there was any round as a pro where you lost two of the three judges, maybe not even one. Do you think you've ever lost a round as a pro?
Yeah,
it's hard to remember every round, but
I'm not sure. I don't think I have though. I think I've like won most of all the rounds that I fought, and I got a lot of knockouts. So I haven't went to the distance that many times. So
no,
we don't know. But on the scorecards, I think I was winning like most of all of my rounds and stuff like that.
Yeah, and up to this point, you're only averaging just a little under 3 rounds a fight, but nonetheless. Do you remember, I don't know if you remember him from the years past, Michael Nunn, the great middleweight champion. He was a terrific middleweight champion, and I broadcast a lot of his fights, and he went several years without ever losing a round on the scorecard. So, and he was a left-hander, and you switched to lefty a lot. So it made me think of Michael Nunn, who ironically was trained by Joe Goosen, who went against you in this last fight. We're going to get into your immediate future and all the rest of it a little later, but I am curious about this. Does anybody still call you Jaron?
I mean, just a few people, just people that don't really know me, but 90% of the people, I'm gonna say 95% of people, call me Boots.
Yeah, so not even like older people that knew you when you were a kid or something, they know you as Boots.
Yeah, everybody, 95%, yeah, 95% of the people that I know, family, friends, they call me by Boots.
That's interesting. Yeah, and of course the nickname was it was an intriguing story in a way because your mom wanted to name you Boops, right?
Yeah.
And so your dad was saying, "Well, explain how that happened."
Well, when I was younger, my original nickname was Boops, Boops. But me being, me going to the gym, my dad taking me to the gym, and me playing around, being a bad little kid, throwing stuff, and just, my dad was saying like, stop doing that, boots, and he was thinking like he was saying like boots like the shoes, so we just changed it ever since, and it just stuck with me, and I love it.
It's funny, isn't that weird? How even a misunderstanding can create a nickname that is is so identifiable, and you get a kick out of it anyway.
Yeah, it definitely was crazy and definitely, a weird thing.
Yeah,
But look where it took me. Look where the name took me now. Everybody
right.
now.
Yeah,
Now
it's a market. You're a brand now.
yeah. Now everybody, that's all they call me now is Boots. So
Yeah.
they don't even call me by my real name.
Yeah, that's funny. Now your brothers, Derek and Pharaoh, were boxers, of course, and your dad, Bozy, was a professional fighter, and you were going to the gym when you were so young. Was there ever any doubt that you were going to be a boxer?
No, it was never no doubt.
On some level, anyway.
No, it was never no doubt I was gonna be a boxer. Like you just said, I've been around the boxing game forever, since I was been born, and I was able to see both my brothers, fight on Showtime, Showbox, ESPN, and the cameras was always around, and it was something that had like it just stuck with me, and everything came natural to me when I started boxing. I never like stepped and threw punches. Like my dad just put me in there, and I just was sparring, and being like it just came natural towards me.
Yeah, so it was instinctive. You and your dad, of course, have shared this journey in boxing, and it always fascinates me for fighters that have their dads as trainers, and of course I've known many over the years, and it's always interesting to me. Each person has their own way of separating out dad from trainer. How do you do that in your mind, and how do you guys collectively do that in your relationship?
And at the end of the day, my dad, we don't bump heads or anything. We just we keep everything the same, and he's the same as a trainer, and he's the same as a dad, and that's just wonderful about him. Whatever he say, I do, and we don't bump heads. We just stay on the right path.
So it's pretty seamless from trainer to dad, and the two kind of blend well, huh?
Definitely. We got a different type of bond, and as y'all can see, on fight night, when I be in that ring, we just be talking regular, like it's a regular day when I'm in that ring.
Interesting. So yeah, that's intriguing. So the communication between the two of you feels just like any other time, huh?
Yeah, definitely. Even when I was fighting on Saturday, my dad was saying certain stuff, and I'd be like, "I got you, Dad." I was like saying it out loud. I don't know if y'all heard me or not, but I was talking to my dad as I was fighting. Yeah,
that's intriguing.
Yeah, we got a different type of bond. Like it's a whole different type of bond.
Interesting. You of course switched from lefty to righty as a fighter, and that's one of the things that makes you unique. And also by the other thing that makes you unique is that you carry your power from both sides, which not everyone does when they switch. Did you do that instinctively when you were a young person boxing? Was that just part of your DNA as a fighter?
Yeah, I've been switching, since since the amateurs, and I always got like a lot of stoppages and knockouts in the amateurs too. So it's like nothing new to me.
Yeah, that's intriguing. Well, you had a 58-3 amateur record, and you had a wonderful amateur career. The interesting thing, though, is that 2 of those 3 losses came to the same person, to Gary Antoine Russell, and he's now campaigning as a professional at 140 pounds. Is he somebody you'd like to face as a professional if he ever moved up to your weight class?
Most definitely. If he move up, we definitely can make that happen. That's definitely a great fight, and I think a lot of people want to see it, but they know what's gonna happen.
So you feel like it would be a different outcome, obviously.
Most definitely. I mean, U.S. Boxing, amateur boxing is different from the pros. We
Yeah.
got on smaller gloves. I can take my time. Ain't no pity pat punches, and I'm sitting down on everything. So it's a whole different. I'm a whole different fighter, a whole different animal in this pro game. And throwing all them pity pat punches in the amateur that help you win and stuff like that. They ain't gonna help you in the pros.
Yeah, and you have a built-in marketing tool for that fight, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your future now, both your immediate and long-term future. When do you think you're going to be in the ring next? And are there any names of opponents being cast about already?
Um. Uh. I would like to be back in the ring. End of July. Maybe August. Just with one of the top. Top 3, top 5 guys, and hopefully I can get one of those guys. Yeah.
Obviously, the champions in the division, Errol Spence, Bud Crawford, and Yordenis Ugas, may not be available to you. For instance, Spence may fight Ugas. That's been talked about. So that would take them off the table. The fight with Crawford is probably a difficult one to make for boxing political reasons and others. So that leaves now, people like Sean Porter and Keith Thurman, who's coming back in the ring. Jamal James, who has a version of the WBA title. Custio Clayton, who fought Sergey Lipinets, and many people thought he won that fight. He's an example of somebody. Is there anybody among the group, and I probably missed names of other people that you could fight, is there anybody that you look at and say, that would be an interesting fight?
Like I said before, I want to fight all the best fighters, and that's the goal, to fight. If I can't get the world champion, I want to fight the guys that's under the world champion. If I can't get the guys that's under the world champions, the next level under there. So I want to stay at that high level, and continue to fight the top guys and top competitors. And that's the only way you're going to be great and go down in history and, as a legend and a future Hall of Famer. So that's the goal.
And you are, right now, you feel like you're ready to fight for a world title, though. If they offer that fight to you tomorrow, you would accept it.
Most definitely. What people don't know, I see people saying they don't think I'm ready, this, that, and the third, but I ain't have to dig deep in a fight yet to show y'all. I'm a whole, like I said before, I'm a whole different animal when especially if a belt online. I'm a young, hungry animal that want to be a world champion. So when you hungry like that, it's hard to be somebody that's hungry. It's hard to be somebody that love what they doing, and I love what I'm doing, and it's only up. And they give me a shot, I'm taking it, and I'm going to win.
Yeah, you're 23 years old, and of course you have a big future ahead of you. And one of the things you talked about, the historical aspects of what you'd like to accomplish. You're very aware of the history, the great history of boxing and boxing champions from the city of Philadelphia. And many people, become additional fans of yours if they're from Philly and they love the idea of you carrying the banner of the city. Is that something that you think about and that feels like an extra perk from all this?
I mean, yeah, I do think about that, but every time I step into the ring, I always have Philly on my back. And, the goal is to be, to, like I said, fight the best and go down in history so I could be one of those Philly legends and, future, Hall of Famer and stuff like that. So that's always the goal. I always think about that. And I can't wait till I do it.
Yeah, very well. And you've got great opportunities in front of you. And as a welterweight, it's one of the glamour divisions in boxing, has been for a long time. Are you going to be a welterweight for a while, do you think?
I definitely think I'm gonna be a welterweight for a while. I feel like my body finally growing into the weight class, and I feel like I'm continuing to get stronger. I feel like I'm developing the right way, and I definitely think I'm be in this weight class, for a long time.
What do you want them to say about Boots Ennis when you're done with your career? What would you like to be the defining statement about you?
The defining statement is that one of the best fighters going down in history, if not the best. He was a guy that fought, a lot of top guys and beat all the top guys. And I want to be like a 3 or 4 time unified division world champion.
All right, lofty goals, and you have a lot of talent. So they're not goals that appear to be unattainable, that's for sure. Hey, Boots, thank you so much. It was enjoyable getting to call your fight against Sergey Lipinets, and I look forward to calling many in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me, put me on this platform.
Happy to have you. You take care.
Thank you. You too.
So that was our chat with Boots Ennis. Fine young man who, as you can see, is very focused and determined, and he wants to make his future in boxing a great one. And many people believe that he can do it. He's got a supportive, loving family with his dad as his trainer. He's got all the ability in the world, and his focus on the sport is clear. So you have to believe, you have to like his chances to become one of the top welterweights and top stars in the sport of boxing. And of course, it's always great trip to be in that welterweight division. That's the glamour division in boxing. It seems like it, for the most part, it's been that for a long, long time.
Well, Alan, if you look at it, and I've asked you that question, but you've got the speed, but you also, at 147, you've got power and speed, so it combines the best elements in boxing.
Yeah, it really does. They're just big enough to where that's where the lower weight divisions kind of stop, and then middleweight picks up for the higher weight divisions. And so you're right, it's that combination of still being quick enough to throw a lot of punches, have a lot of punch volume, and yet we see a lot of dramatic knockouts in the welterweight division. So Boots Ennis is well on his way. How do you get knockouts? How do you win decisions? Well, it's all about the fundamentals of the sport. And if you want to learn more about the fundamentals of the sport, Tom Yankello, who has been a fine trainer in the sport of boxing, has a great YouTube channel called World Class Boxing, where you can go see these really fine videos that are primarily teaching videos, but also learning videos for fans that want to learn a little bit more about the sport, and historical videos as well, because it talks about how certain fighters approach fights and how they would have approached different fights in history. So head over there and check out Tommy Yankello's channel, World Class Boxing. Now, we're going to, in our next episode, we're going to be chatting with a man who is my broadcast mate on Showtime Championship Boxing and has been for my whole tenure there, Jim Gray, who, of course, is known to audiences far and wide as a man that has interviewed the great and the near great in the world of sports and beyond. He has written a book, which is a very fine read. And we're going to have Jim on to talk about that. And he'll talk about some of his moments spent with Mike Tyson, among others. It's really a unique read. And I think Jim will have a lot to say about it.
Well, he is truly fearless, and he has asked some amazing questions. I'm not going to give you a preview, but he has all the courage in the world, and some could argue maybe a little crazy to ask some questions he does.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. So we're going to get into everything with Jim, and as we visit with him. Well, thanks to Jaron Boots Ennis for joining us on this episode. Thanks to Tripp, of course, for his fine work. And thanks to folks at Let's Do Something Productions for making this show possible. And thanks to you, as always, for watching. Take care.